Okay, we are live and good to go. I'm going to proceed with the opening remarks in the chair's absence. Okay, I do see that we have a quorum present, so I declare this meeting to order at 4:06 p.m. Here with us this afternoon is myself, Sarah Leach. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer. We also have Mr. Colin McCann, who is one of our members, as well as Don Rodbard, our other member. Our chair will be joining us shortly, Mr. John Kappa. Before we proceed, we will open with a land recognition statement. We begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is a traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and the friendships of the Indigenous people. We are here for a hybrid hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present and viewing at home via live stream will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be opposed should any application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be provided the opportunity to address the application. During the public portion of each application, we will hear from anyone wishing to submit verbal comments or submit written correspondence via email at the clerks@pelham.ca email address. Comments received following the public portion will not be considered this afternoon. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions may be determined by the committee following the hearing. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant and agent and members of the public that have submitted comments. Notices of decision can also be obtained by request of the clerk's office. Committee members are asked to raise your hand if you would like to speak and vote. Applicants, agents, and attendees are advised that they are free to leave the webinar and/or the hearing today once a decision has been made on the application of interest. That brings us to the approval of agenda. I have a motion here that the agenda for the August 6, 2024 Committee of Adjustment meeting be adopted as circulated.
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. That brings us to disclosure of pecuniary interests. Are there any pecuniary interests disclosed by the members?
I have none. None.
Thank you very much. That brings us to our first application this afternoon, being A16 25 Highway 20 East. Jody, will you please share our presentation? Okay, Committee of Adjustment hearing, August 6th at 4 p.m. The Town of Pelham is holding hybrid Committee of Adjustment hearings. A hybrid hearing involves a mixture of in-person and remote attendance and participation. The following presentations are based upon the Town of Pelham Planning's Department report and analysis. Please note that no decisions have been made prior to this public hearing. All comments received from commenting agencies and the public have been forwarded in full to the Committee of Adjustment members and will appear summarized on the slides to follow. Decorum. The Committee of Adjustment is a formal public hearing requiring decorum. This means that all comments are to be made through the chair. If you have pre-registered to speak virtually or will be participating in person this afternoon, you'll be provided an opportunity to address the committee at the public portion of the meeting. If someone ahead of you has made the same comments that you wish to make, there's no need to repeat them, and please keep all comments concise. If you are live streaming and wish to submit a comment live, please email the clerks@pelham.ca email address. Please note that comments must be received during the public portion of the meeting, otherwise they will not be considered. Inappropriate comments will also not be tolerated. If decorum is lost, the meeting may be recessed and persons asked to leave. Our first application this afternoon is A16 25 Highway 20 East. The subject land is located on the north side of Highway 20 West, lying west of Station Street, known as 25 Highway 20. The application seeks relief from the following variances. Section 8.2.3, front yard, to recognize the front wall occupying 68% of the lot frontage and set back 11.36 meters from the front lot line. Staff note that the setback will be 9.48 meters after the road widening. Section 8.2.3, first floor window height, to recognize an existing first floor window height of 0.71 meters. Section 8.2.3, first floor height, to permit an existing first floor height of 2.74 meters. Section 8.2.3, an angular plane, 60-degree angular plane, to permit a 0.102 meter encroachment into the angular plane on the west side of the lot. To date, the following comments have been received from the Building Division and Public Works. See conditions. Niagara Regions, no objections. Regional comments and requirements will be incorporated into the future site plan agreement. No public comments were received at the time of writing this report. Minor variance test 1 is the variance minor in nature. For section 8.2.3 front yard, yes, the proposed renovation and conversion of the existing dwelling to a hotel will utilize the existing footprint of the dwelling. The addition will not alter the existing front yard setback or the percentage of the frontage occupied by the structure. For the two following variances, first floor window height and first floor height, yes, permitting the conversion of the existing structure will maintain the character of the surrounding area. For the last variance, angular plane, yes, given the pitch of the roof, a small portion of the roof, being the east trough, projects 0.102 meters into the angular plane. No windows or living space encroach into the angular plane, and as such, issues of overlook are mitigated. Minor variance test 2, for the first three variances, yes, the variance will allow the existing dwelling to be converted to a commercial use, which is an example of an adaptive reuse. The proposed scale of the use, being 6 hotel rooms, is compatible with the surrounding area. And the last variance, angular plane, yes, the minor encroachment into the angular plane is not anticipated to result in a built form that is inappropriate for the lands. Minor variance test 3, the first variance, front yard. The third test is, does the minor variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, the intent of the zone requirement is to enhance streetscape continuity, promote walkability through a more engaging and active street frontage, and contribute to a defined urban form. The variance is being requested to recognize the existing conditions of the dwelling and allow for an adaptive reuse of the building to be used for permitted commercial use. For the following two variances, yes, the intent of these zone requirements are to encourage a traditional Main Street typology with large windows and an active streetscape. The development will convert the existing residential use into a commercial use along a commercial corridor, which would allow for the adaptive reuse of the building. Continued, the last variance, angular plane. Yes, the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained as the height of the structure is within the permitted height regulation of the bylaw. No windows or living space is proposed to encroach the angular plane, and as such, overlook and privacy concerns are mitigated. Minor variance test 4, for all of the variances requested, yes, the variances will facilitate compatible and appropriate development of the subject property. The redevelopment of the site will facilitate an inviting and pedestrian-scaled commercial development that blends with adjacent residential uses. Provided the analysis in the above sections, staff is of the opinion the proposal makes efficient use of the land, will not result in the overbuilding of the property, will not alter the view, sightlines, or personal enjoyment of the subject property or neighboring properties, and should not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with regard to land use incompatibility, traffic, privacy, and stormwater runoff. Planning staff recommends that application A16/2024P be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan to demonstrate that the drainage neither relies on nor negatively impacts neighboring properties to the satisfaction of Public Works. That all the building permits be acquired prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the CBO, and that the applicant enter into a site plan agreement to the satisfaction of the Director of Community Planning and Development. Thank you. And the committee, we do have our applicant here today, Mr. Roger Toma, as well as his architect who is joining us via Zoom. We welcome the applicant to attend the podium if you have any additional comments. No comments? Okay, thank you. That brings us to the the public comments. If anyone here would like to make any comments on this application, you're welcome to attend the podium. Okay, seeing none, sorry, we do have one? Okay, perfect, you can attend the podium. Please turn on the microphone, it's just one button. The microphone will turn green.
Is that the?
Perfect. Can you please state your name for the record?
Okay, my name is David Kudis. I've lived at the neighboring property to the west for 14 years. This new traffic coming in is going to be shining headlights into my bedroom window nonstop. It's these people are going to be coming and going on a very regular basis. There's going to be much more traffic with them. They're not like just coming home and staying. They're coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, and there's not enough parking for them. It's they're going to be shining the headlights in my bedroom nonstop. There's no design in this thing to incorporate a fence from the back or from the front of the house to the street survey marker. So now I'm going to have all these people that have traveled all kinds of distances jumping out of their car late at night, fertilizing my lawn and from front and back pieces, I'm sure, because this is not going to be a family thing because these are like to put 6 units in a little house is not, that means there's not going to be people with kids. It's going to be single people. And it's, so there's no fence, which is a problem for me, because I'm going to have people in my backyard all the time. And headlights in my house, and extra noise. Well, that noise is what it is. Highway is noisy anyway, so you can't really complain about that aspect of it. But and development can't really stop it. But I mean, this is a significant concern on my behalf that they're intruding on me, and there's always been a house there, but this is too much traffic with too much late night stuff happening on a regular basis, and there's going to be people in the backyard all the time unless there's a fence. And technically, I don't understand how you can put 6 vehicles in that tiny front yard. You're removing all the trees so that now it's extra noise that I get to hear because now there's a cushion. So you're removing all the trees, and that's the only way you can try to squeeze that many parking spaces into such a small area. So it's going to be noisier. So as meeting criteria or improving the urban surrounding, it's degrading it because you're removing foliage, you're removing property, you're moving ground that's actually absorbing water. So the neighbor on the other side, he's in the same situation with me. He's going to have the headlights on his if it's allowed to run a driveway down the middle, and he's going to have much more runoff come his way as well, and noise. It's the same sort of thing. Yeah, that's about all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Yes, certainly. Please attend the microphone and state your name.
Mike Hogan. I'm the other neighbor. I have no concerns, that are relevant to what I have heard just now. Headlights, I live on a highway. There's headlights there. The land is being used. He's made an investment in this property. He's bringing business to us, and we're making it difficult for him to get started, which I really don't understand. I have no objections to whatever I've seen in the proposals to this point in time, and I do not see the relevance of some of the concerns that were presented before me.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to make comments? Yes, please come state your name.
I'm also the neighbor. I'm Mike's wife.
Mike's-
And the trees that he's proposing to take down are not really nice trees. They were never really planted there. They just somehow grew. They're what they call garbage trees. So I have no qualms of them taking it down. My pool is covered with leaves starting now until we close the pool because of these leaves. And if he can make it more beautiful with his hot tubs or whatever, I have no issues with that whatsoever. So, you know, we support him 100%.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to make comments? Thank you, and I'll just extend it to the applicant one more time. Do you have any comments to make now that you've heard the public commentary?
Yes.
Yeah, if you'd like to, you can attend.
Hi, my name is Brett Liver. I'm
Oh,
Accurate
sorry.
Designs.
Yes.
Sorry, the applicant's architect.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, it's in terms of the neighbor's concerns as far as light and people approaching onto his property, we'll definitely have a fence along there, a full privacy fence along both sides to make sure that none of their clients do go onto his property, and do our best to block any sort of light that might come in from the driveways. We'll keep that in mind, and that can be definitely handled through the site plan approval process.
Thank
Other
you very
than that,
much.
You're welcome.
Are you good, or do you want to add anything?
I'm good. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Perfect. If you could just turn on the microphone, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm just going to say a couple things. I was just taking notes as you were speaking, but obviously coming in and changing the home or changing the property can definitely affect our neighbors, and that is not a goal of mine at all. So I'm just going to say that in advance. We obviously want to make sure that our neighbors are comfortable and happy, and as we're working with the city planners, it's obviously a goal that they've continued to bring up, and we want to make sure that we maintain the privacy for them and for our guests as well. So lighting has been a concern that we are already working on, and we want to make sure that there's no excess lighting from cars or from the hotel that will bother you. Fences obviously are not top priority. You brought up the point of bathrooms. I will make sure there's an easy way for them to enter and use the bathroom as quickly as possible, because we don't want them vandalizing our property or yours. Late night stuff happening, obviously I can't control that, but there are city laws that we will try our best to accommodate. Noise from removing trees. I promise you that we are putting more than we are taking out, at least so far. And ground from absorbing water, that's obviously also become a concern that the city pointed out that we will do our best to address. And I'm happy to share my number with anybody. If they have any additional concerns, God willing, if this moves forward, I'm happy to talk with you and work it out, because whether it's mentioned or not, we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable and happy with what we're doing, especially our neighbors. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to make comments before we move on? Not seeing any. I did just check the email address and notice we've not received any emails regarding the subject application. It is 4:24 p.m. and if the committee is comfortable, I'd be looking for a motion to proceed with the committee portion.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much. And a seconder?
I will second that.
Thank you very much. I do note that our chair has joined us. However, he is not permitted to consider this application. He will consider the following applications. So over to you, Member McCann and Member Rodbard. If you have any comments, now would be the time.
Okay, I just have one question for the developer. I was trying to pull up my lot plan and it doesn't pop right up in front of me. I know there's 6 units. How many parking spaces are you envisioning on the plan for both your guests and staff on that lot?
If I may, we're planning 6, including a barrier-free space.
No questions?
No.
Okay, do you have any further questions? No? Okay, so if there's no further commentary, I'd be looking for either a motion to approve or deny this application.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, excellent. If you could just proceed with
Somebody second?
Yeah, sorry, you're just gonna have to read this.
You read it first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, Highway 25, file A16 2024, 25 Highway 20 East Pelham. Applications are made for a minor variance of front wall occupying 65%, 68% of the lot frontage and setback 11.36 meters from the front lot line. A second, first floor window height of 0.71 meters. Third, first floor height of 2.74 meters. And for the final is 0.102 meter encroachment into angular plane on the west side of the lot. And this application is granted. The reasons, first reason, the variances are minor in nature as the existing front yard setback will not be altered. The existing footprint will not be altered. It is not anticipated to detract from the streetscape. No windows or living space encroach into the angular plane, and as such, issues of overlook are mitigated. Intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. Intent of the official plan is maintained. The proposals are desirable for the land as it will allow the existing dwelling to be converted to a commercial use, which is an example of an adaptive reuse. The minor encroachment into the angular plane is not anticipated to result in a built form that is inappropriate for the lands. This application, these applications are granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. The Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act tests for minor variance. There are some conditions. The first one, obtain necessary building permits. 2, enter into a site plan agreement with the Planning Department. 3, submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan. And that is the end.
Okay, so that's a motion to approve put forth by member Rodbar, seconded by member McCann, and I'd be looking for a vote in the affirmative from the two members.
I vote in the affirmative.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, and that file is approved. We are now moving on to our next application, being A17, 1311 Effingham Street. Okay, the subject land is located on the north side of Pancake Lane, lying east of Effingham Street, known locally as 1311 Effingham Street. The application seeks relief from section 5.2.3, minimum corner side yard, to permit a minimum corner side yard of 3.445 meters. To date, the following comments have been received. From the Building Division, see conditions. Public Works Department, see conditions. Construction of a new or modification of existing driveways requires a driveway entrance permit. The existing grading plan does not match the existing conditions of the property. Trees are not shown on the plan. Please include the location of trees on the plan. Niagara Region staff offer no objection to the application, provided a new sewage system permit is obtained prior to the issuance of a building permit. Staff suggests that a condition to this effect be included in the development agreement between the owner and the town of Pelham. Staff recommend that a tree protection plan be implemented. No public comments were received at the time of writing the report. Minor variance test 1 is the variance minor in nature. Yes, the reduction to the setback is not anticipated to result in a negative impact on the adjacent uses, the streetscape, or substantially remove any of the amenity space of the lot. The variance will facilitate a natural addition to the garage. Variance test 2 is the variance desirable for the development and or use of the land. Yes, the variance is desirable as it will permit design flexibility while maintaining adequate area for amenity space, drainage, and private sewage system servicing capabilities. Variance test 3, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, the proposed addition maintains adequate visibility at the intersection of Pancake Lane and Effingham Street, allowing for adequate landscaping, and does not result in the overdevelopment of the site. The site would appear to have sufficient lot area in the event of the existing septic system needs to be replaced. Minor variance test 4, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes, the requested variance should have no impact on the agricultural viability of the surrounding area and will not compromise the objectives of the official plan. Based on the analysis, staff is of the opinion the variance is minor in nature, conforms to the general policies and intent of both the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is appropriate for the development and use of the land. Planning staff recommend that application number A17, 2024 be approved, subject to the following conditions. Submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan to demonstrate that drainage neither relies on nor negatively impacts neighboring properties to the satisfaction of Public Works, and that the applicant prepare and submit a tree protection plan to the satisfaction of the town. As well, conduct a stage 1 to 2 archaeological assessment prepared by a licensed archaeologist and receive clearance from the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. At a minimum, the assessment must cover the building envelope of the proposed lot eligible for disturbance and be accepted by the ministry prior to clearance of this condition. The licensed archaeologist may recommend further archaeological analysis and preservation steps be taken. No demolition, grading, or other soil disturbances shall take place on the subject land prior to the issuance of the ministry letter confirming that all archaeological resource concerns have been mitigated and meet licensing and resource conservation requirements, and that all necessary building permits be acquired prior to construction commencing. To you, Mr. Chair, we do have our applicants, I understand Brian and Wendy Kramer, with us this afternoon, and if you'd like to make any comments, you may attend the podium. No comments? Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, that does bring us to the public portion. If there's anyone here joining us and that would like to make public comments, you're welcome to attend the podium. Okay. Seeing none, Mr. Chair, I will just check our email address. It is 4:33 p.m. We've received no emails. If you would like to close the public portion, you may do so by motion.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for my tardiness today to everyone. I completely disrespected everyone in the room, and I just want to say that before we start. But yes, if we could close the published portion of this meeting, somebody put a motion.
So moved.
Thank you.
Is that all?
That's on.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you seconding the motion?
Oh, yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. And that brings us to the committee portion. You may proceed.
From what I could tell, this is a very standard, very small. Nothing really. I'm good to go. Any questions, guys?
No, it's
None.
Fine.
Okay, and I'd be looking for a motion to either approve or deny the application.
okay. I will make the motion regarding file A17 2024P 1311 Effingham Street in Pelham. I move that we grant the application for a minor variance for a minimum corner side yard of 3.445 meters. The reason for this motion, the variances are minor in nature as the reduction to the setback is not anticipated to result in a negative impact on the adjacent uses, the streetscape, or substantially remove any of the amenity space of the lot. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained, the intent of the official plan is maintained, and the proposals are desirable for the land as it will permit flexibility while maintaining adequate area for amenity space, drainage, and private sewage system and servicing capabilities. This applications are granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. This committee has considered written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for minor variance. The conditions are: 1, obtain necessary building permits; 2, prepare and submit a tree protection plan; 3, conduct a stage 1-2 archaeological assessment prepared by a licensed archaeologist and receive clearance from the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism; and 4, submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan.
Thank you, and I'd be looking for a seconder, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So I have a motion to approve, moved by Member McCann, seconded by Member Kappa, and I'm looking for a vote of all members present in the affirmative.
I vote in the affirmative.
Thank you.
I also vote affirmative.
I vote affirmative.
Thank you. Okay, and that application is approved. We will then move on to our next application this afternoon, being A19, Block 173 of Saffron Meadows. Jody, if you could please share our presentation. Okay, application A19, 73 William Street. The subject land is located on the west side of Clager Avenue, lying north of William Street, being Block 173 on Plan 59M-505. The block is known municipally as 73 to 79 William Street. Staff note that the block will be split into 4 lots through an application for part lot control at a later date. It is noted that the variance is only necessary for the proposed 73 William Street, being the end unit. The application seeks relief from Section 10 exemptions, RM1-96, Section 3D, minimum exterior side yard, to permit a minimum exterior side yard setback for a covered porch of 1.6 meters. To date, the following comments have been received from the Building Division. See conditions. From Public Works, please be advised that no side yard walkways that impede side yard swales shall be permitted. See conditions. No public comments had been received at the time of writing this report. Our first minor variance test is the variance minor in nature. Yes, the reduction to the setback is not anticipated to result in a negative impact on the adjacent uses, the streetscape, or substantially remove amenity space on the lot. Minor variance test 2. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land? Yes, the variance would allow for the appropriate development of a wraparound covered porch on the corner lot. The covered porch is not anticipated to have significant visual impact on the streetscape. Minor variance test 3, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, the porch maintains adequate visibility at the intersection of William and Arsenault, allows for adequate landscaping, and does not result in the overdevelopment of the site. Minor variance test 4, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes, the requested variances would not have a negative impact on the character of the surrounding area. The variance would allow for the appropriate development of the existing lot. Based on staff analysis, staff is of the opinion that the variance is minor in nature, conforms to the general policies and intent of both the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is appropriate for the development of the land. Staff recommend that application number A19/2024P be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant obtain all necessary building permits prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the chief building official. That the applicant submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan to demonstrate that the drainage neither relies on nor negatively impacts neighboring properties to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works. And to you, Mr. Chair, we do have our our agent, Mr. Ethan Lamont, with us today. And Ethan, you're welcome to the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is actually Eric Beauregard, and I'm here on behalf of Upper Canada Consultants, the agent for the owner, which is Rinaldi Homes Niagara Inc. We have reviewed the report from staff, and we agree with the recommendations from staff, and I'm available to answer any questions the committee may have.
Okay, thank you. And if you have no further comments, we can open it up to the public comment section. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to make any comments this afternoon? Okay, seeing none, I will just check our email address. Mr. Chair, it is 4:39 p.m. We received no emails. If you would like to close the public portion, you may.
Yes, let's get a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Thank you, and I'd be looking for a seconder.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the members' comments. You may proceed with any comments you have.
No, it's quite a thorough list here that conditions, right, in terms of what's required. So as long as you're okay with all those, and I think I'm good with no questions. Anyone else? Straightforward. Yep.
Everything's fine.
Okay, could I have someone in motion to pass this?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
It's right here. Alrighty, file A19-2024P, 73 William Street, Pelham. Applications are made for minor variance of a minimum exterior side yard setback for a covered porch of 1.6 meters. This application is granted. The reasons: number one, variances are minor in nature as it is not anticipated to result in a negative impact on the adjacent uses, the streetscape, or substantially remove amenity space on the lot. 2, intent of the zoning bylaw is remained. 3, intent of the official plan is maintained. And 4, the proposals are desirable for the land use as it will allow for appropriate development of a wraparound covered porch on a corner lot. These applications are granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. The Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for minor variance. The applicant is aware that no side yard walkways that impede side yard swales shall be permitted. And there are some conditions. 1, obtain all necessary building permits, and 2, submit a comprehensive lawn grading and drainage plan. That's it.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you. So I have a motion to approve, moved by Member Rodbard, seconded by Member McCann, and I'd be looking for a vote from all members present in the affirmative.
I vote in the affirmative.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And Member Rodbard, how do you vote? Yes or no? Yes or no? Thank you. Excellent. So that application also is passes. That brings us to our next application this afternoon, being a consent application B14, 28 Lorimer Street. Excellent, thank you. Application is made for consent to a partial discharge of mortgage and consent to convey 420.82 square meters of land, being Part 1 for future construction of a single detached dwelling. Part 2 is to be retained for continued residential use of the dwelling known municipally as 28 Lorimer Street. To date, the following comments have been received from the Building Division. Any future proposed construction will require a building permit application. Public Works see conditions. 2 public comments had been received at the time of writing this report and are summarized as follows. Objects to the proposal, expressed concern with the potential of the proposal to exacerbate flooding and drainage concerns in the area, concerns with the aging storm sewer infrastructure along Hurricane Road and its adequacy to handle the additional runoff, concern with tree removal and loss of tree canopy, expressed concern with the vacancy of existing dwellings and new development in the area, expressed concern with the accuracy of the severance sketch, questions the feasibility of the driveway and garage layout in the proposed drawing, highlights the lack of detail in the drawing regarding property coverage, as well objects to the proposal, express concerns with privacy, concerns with the removal of trees and on soil stability and drainage, concern with loss of fencing, and raised adverse possession rights. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed consent is consistent with the PPS and conforms to provincial, regional, and local plans. The resulting parcel complies with applicable zoning bylaw regulations, and upon satisfaction of the conditions of approval, is not anticipated to negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with respect to traffic, privacy, and stormwater management. Therefore, planning staff do recommend that application number B14 be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant confirm that no existing utilities currently cross the proposed new property line. Should any services cross the new line, the applicant will be responsible for costs associated with their relocation and/or removal. Construction of new or modification to existing driveways requires a driveway entrance permit. The permit is obtained through the public department, and all associated costs with that permit are the responsibility of the owner. That the applicant must submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan to demonstrate that drainage neither relies on nor negatively impacts neighboring properties, and that the drainage will be contained within the respective lot. Part 1 is to be individually serviced with its own sanitary and water connections and constructed in accordance with the Town of Pelham engineering standards. Installation of any services will require a temporary works permit obtained through the Public Works Department. These works are to be completed prior to consent, and the applicant shall bear all responsibility of all costs associated with these works. Locate cards are to be provided to the town once the work is complete. That the applicant provide a tree preservation plan, including trees on lot grading plan, and that the applicant provide a cash in lieu should the applicant remove town-owned trees per the town tree policy. That the applicant provide a functional servicing report, including a full stormwater management strategy. That the applicant provide the Secretary-Treasurer with a registerable legal description of the subject parcel, together with a copy of the deposited reference plan. That the applicant provide the final certification fee of $436 payable to the Treasurer, Town of Pelham, and all costs associated with fulfilling any conditions shall be borne by the applicant, and that the applicant shall sign the Town of Pelham Standard Memorandum of Understanding, explaining that development charges and cash in lieu of the dedication of land for park purposes are required prior to the issuance of a building permit. Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent, Mr. Ron, I don't want to, Remeyer? Perfect. I don't know if Kristen's joining you today or just yourself. Okay, excellent.
Good afternoon, committee members and staff. I concur with the planning report, so I don't have anything further to add. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we don't have any registered speakers today, but I will open it up to the floor. If anyone from the public is here to speak on this application, you're welcome to attend the podium. Seeing none, I will check the email. Oh, we do have one?
There's
Perfect.
somebody up
Oh,
with their
excellent.
hand.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
If you could please turn on the microphone and state your name for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I have some concerns, as well as the letter I've submitted to the town, and considerations towards the trees and the erosion.
Sorry, just to confirm your name, are you Catherine?
I'm Catherine.
Perfect,
Sokovich.
excellent, thank you.
Yes, I'm the neighboring property to the proposed severance, as well as the letter I submitted. There is an underground water under the town that runs along Hurricane Road, as I've lived there for 23 years and previously 11 in another home on Hurricane Road. So that's 35 years. I know how the flooding can be here when the rain is heavy. In fact, before the infrastructure on Hurricane was upgraded, I had flooding in my backyard to the point of 6 inches. It took a very long time to drain away. Without the trees there, the consideration of the effects on neighbors for flooding, if trees are lost in the west side of the proposal, and the north side of Hurricane Road on the proposal as well, loss of privacy and shade. In addition, we're questioning the legitimacy of the survey as well, and the accuracy of the property line on this proposed survey. Okay, and as you can see, it's a very jagged line. There's sheds there and development that I'm concerned with when this is about to possibly going to take place. So I thank you very much for your time and consideration.
If you could please state your name for the record. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I'm Linda Stoop, and I live right adjacent to the property that he's going to dissect. My concern is that the city of Pelham is taking perfectly good pieces of property and chopping them all up into tiny little pieces of property, put $1 million homes on it. The existing home that's there now has a nice backyard for kids to play in. And now you're going to cut it in half, and they're going to have no backyard. And secondly, years ago, they took the property across the street, Mrs. Bell's property, which was a beautiful piece of property, tore it all to pieces, and there's a stream that runs underneath there. And our next door neighbor right beside me, once they put that property in, his sump pump comes on every 20 minutes, ever since they put that subdivision in. So the water's coming from somewhere, because he never had the problem before. Now all of a sudden he's got a problem. So again, I'm really concerned with the amount of trees that are going to be cut down, a lot of trees. And when he starts to cut these trees down, it's going to disrupt my property, and I'm going to end up having my sump pump coming on every 20 minutes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to make any comment?
Anyone else? No?
Does the agent want to respond to anything you've heard? Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yes, what's on? As the staff reviewed it, the application, and we do have to do a fair bit of work to get the severance through regarding grading to make sure the water's not going anywhere else except for on our property or where it's supposed to go. So And regarding the trees, and the surveyor, the one comment was, it is an authorized surveyor of Ontario. It has been in business for eons. So I think the job that they've done is correct. And regarding the trees, it's going to be a little amount of trees as possible. We're trying to keep as many trees as we can. So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you. I will just check the email address before we proceed. It is 4:51 p.m. We've received no emails. And Mr. Chair, if you'd like to close the public portion, you may.
Yeah, I do have a question, if possible, for the town. In terms of the two concerns that we've heard today, obviously, in terms of the drainage and the trees, I noticed that there are conditions here to manage that. Is the town confident that we can come up with a plan for both to achieve, what we need to achieve, and so that as best as we can, not affect other properties? I just wanted to throw that out there.
Through you, Mr. Chair. When you're talking about subpumps coming on, that's the water table, which we have no control over. We can only control above ground. What happens underground, we can't control because we have no way of directing the water that's underground related to the subpumps. We have asked for a grading and drainage plan and a function service report and a stormwater management report to try and mitigate these issues. So once we get that information, we'll be better in a better position to take that.
Okay, okay. Any other questions?
I have one. Ms. Svinicki didn't say it in her verbal comments, but I noted in an earlier email, one of her concerns was the removal of an existing shed that's on the property with an adjoining fence that would be necessary to complete the conveyance. And the town's response was that fences were a civil matter between neighbors. I do know that in a file that we went before us in February, property on Pelham Street, the number escapes me right at the moment, we did have as a condition the applicant was to rebuild an existing fence. Therefore, I'm a little confused as to when a fence condition is appropriate and when it's not appropriate.
Through you, Mr. Chair. If the committee wishes to put in a condition about a fence, that is in the committee's purview. In this case, because it was simply the removal of a shed, which was a small portion, and not removal of the entire fence, planning staff did not make it a condition, but it is within the committee's purview to do so if they feel it's appropriate.
And thank you for that. And maybe through the applicant, just to make sure that he's just what his thoughts are on if the shed and attached fence is to be removed and what are his intentions?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The shed has to come down as one of the conditions. If there's a fence that's going to be attached to it, we would take the shed down and put the fence back up. That's not a problem. And if the shed is part of the fence, I guess, then technically the shed was probably built illegally at the time because it's got to be two feet away from the property line to begin with. So the shed would come down, and then we would have to take a look at the situation at that time then. But if there is a fence there already, if that's attached to the fence or whatever, or attached to the shed, we'll make sure that the fence is still standing.
Yeah, it's from my observations, I'm not going to opine on whether or not the shed is legal or not, but it's certainly on the proposed property line and therefore would have to come down, and I believe that's in the application, is that it would be removed, and the fence extends from roughly the corner of the property to the corner of the shed that will be removed. So,
okay, and then it like it's not my property, so I'm not exactly sure, but if I can speak for them that if the fence stops at the shed and then it continues at the end of the shed, for that section, it's not a very large section, we would put a fence back up.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chair. Yeah, no, that was my one concern, is I do believe the questions regarding the flooding have been addressed by the town, and I do believe in this, the concerns as to the accuracy, the survey is also addressed in the motion. I think we're.
Any questions? I know you were.
None.
Thank you through Mr. Chair. We're actually still within the public portion of this meeting, so if you feel comfortable to end that public portion, I would be looking for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. And a seconder, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So it is 4:57 p.m. The public portion is closed, and we've moved into committee input. And just for procedural clarity to the committee, if you are looking to add a condition, that is possible. You would just include that in any motions made this afternoon.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, just trying to make sure I got the
Just taking a
wording.
moment here to
Yeah.
add that in. Thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion to close?
We've done the motion to close. We're within committee input right now, so if anyone has any further input, you're welcome to share. No? Okay, then we would be looking for a motion to either approve or deny the application.
Seeing as I've created the wording, I will make the motion.
Thank you.
With regards to file B14 2024 P 28 Lorimer Street in Pelham, an application for consent to partial discharge of mortgage and convey of Part 1. I move this motion be granted. This motion made subject to the following conditions: to the satisfaction of Public Works. 1, confirm that no existing utilities currently cross the proposed new property line. 2, construction of new or modification of existing driveways requires a driveway entrance permit. 3, submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan. 4, Part 1 is to be individually serviced with its own sanitary and water connections and constructed in accordance with Town of Pelham's engineering standards. 5, provide a functional servicing report, including full stormwater management strategy. To the satisfaction of planning. 1, provide a tree preservation plan, including trees on lot grading plan, and provide a cash in lieu should the applicant remove town-owned trees per town tree policy. And 2, sign the Town of Pelham standard, quote, memorandum of understanding, close quote, explaining that development charges and cash in lieu of the dedication of land for park purposes are required prior to the issuance of a building permit. To the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, provide a registrable legal description and deposited reference plan. 2, provide a final certification fee of $436. This application is based on the following reasons. 1, the application conforms to and complies with the A, town official plan, regional policy plan, and provincial policy statement, and the town zoning bylaw. 2, this decision is rendered having regards to sections 51 sub 24 and 51 sub 25 of the Planning Act. The committee considered all, and 3, the committee considered all written and oral submissions and finds that subject to the conditions, this application meets Planning Act criteria and is consistent with and complies with provincial, regional, and town planning policy. one condition that I'm attaching to this, that the applicant will be responsible for replacing any fencing, any gaps in fencing created as a result of this conveyance.
Thank you, and I'd be looking for a seconder for that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion put forth by Member McCann, seconded by Member Kappa to approve this application, and I'd be looking for a vote from the members present in the affirmative.
I vote affirmative.
Likewise, same.
Same with myself.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Application B14 is approved, and that brings us to our next consent application this afternoon, being B13, 764 Canberra Road. For clarification purposes to the gallery, there are 3 applications tonight that is associated with 764 Canberra Road. We will first hear the conveyance. If approved, we'll move on to the minor variances. So file B13, 764 Canberra Road, application is made for consent to partial discharge of mortgage and consent to convey 1052 square meters of land, being part 1, for the future construction of a semi-detached dwelling. Part 2 is to be retained for future construction of a semi-detached dwelling. From the building department, the following comments have been received from the building department. A building permit application will be required upon planning approval. Public Works Department, see conditions. Bell Canada, it has been identified that a transfer of easement over the lands is required to protect existing aerial facilities, supply service to the properties, and to maintain service in the area. Confirmation is required that a blanket easement over the lands or a 3-meter wide corridor is to be measured 1.5 meters on either side of the aerial cable, then to extend from the pole to a minimum of 1 meter past any anchor installation, to be measured 0.5 meters on either side of, sorry, I just have a little discrepancy over here, can be accommodated since the easement is necessary in order to provide and maintain service to the area. All costs associated with the transaction is the responsibility of the landowner. Compensation should be set to the nominal amount of $2 for the acquisition of these rights. Additionally, Bell Canada requires separate registered postponements for any mortgages and certification of title. We hope this proposal meets your approval and request a copy of the Committee of Adjustment decision. We look forward to the owner's solicitor contacting Bell Canada with the draft reference plan and accompanying draft easements for their approval prior to registration, along with an acknowledgement and direction for their execution. The Niagara region, in relation to the archaeological assessment, staff requests that an acceptance letter from the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism be circulated to the region prior to the issuance of a building permit. The Niagara region included an archaeological advisory clause for the applicant's information, which can be found in the planning report for reference. One public comment was received at the time of writing the planning report. That individual expressed concern with safety along Canberra Road, expressed concern with introducing semi-detached dwellings into neighborhoods of primarily single detached dwellings. Per staff analysis, staff are of the opinion that the proposed consent is consistent with the PPS and conforms to the provincial, regional, and local plans. Planning staff recommend that application number B13 be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant provide the Secretary Treasurer with a registerable legal description of the subject parcel, together with a copy of the deposited reference plan. That the final certification fee of $436 be payable to the Treasurer, Town of Pelham. The lots are to be individually serviced with sanitary and water connections and constructed in accordance with the Town of Pelham engineering standards. Installation of any services will require a temporary works permit obtained through the Public Works Department. These works are to be completed prior to consent, and the applicant shall bear all costs associated with these works. Locate cards are to be provided to the town once the work is complete. That the applicant submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan for all parcels to demonstrate that the drainage neither relies on nor negatively impacts neighboring properties, and that all drainage will be contained within the respective lots to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works. That the applicant confirm that no utilities cross the proposed new lot lines. Should any services cross the proposed new property line, that the applicant would be responsible for all costs. That the applicant obtain approval for a driveway entrance and culvert permit as applicable issued through the Public Works Department to town standards. Again, the applicant shall bear all costs associated with these works. That the applicant sign the Town of Pelham Standard Memorandum of Agreement of Understanding explaining that development charges and cash in lieu of the dedication of land for park purposes are required prior to the issuance of a building permit. And that the owner provide a written agreement that they will grant Bell Canada any easements that may be required, which may include a blanket easement for communication and telecommunication infrastructure. In the event of any conflict with the existing Bell Canada facilities or easements, the owner shall be responsible for the relocation of such facilities or easements. To Mr. Chair, we do have our agent, Mr. Todd Barber, here with us this afternoon. Mr. Barber, if you have any comments.
Thank you, Ms. Leach. Through you, Mr. Chair. This application for consent is sort of implied as of right. Semi-detached dwellings are legal conforming use on that property. The property is actually wide enough to receive 2 sets of semis, but our client chose to do a less intense development and have something that was more in character and keeping with the neighborhood. We have no concerns with the Bell Canada line crossing the development. It's behind all of the intended buildings. So we'll be able to satisfy that request and communicate effectively with Bell to make sure that's fine. I'm available if there's any questions.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. That does bring us to the public commentary section, and we do have some pre-registered speakers that we will begin with before we open up to the floor. And just clarification to the gallery, this is the consent application. We're not at this time considering the associated minor variances. So our first participant is Ms. Van Maren, and Ms. Van Maren is joining us over Zoom. Deborah, we do see that you've joined the Zoom meeting. If you can hear us, you're welcome to unmute yourself and or turn on your camera if you'd like and proceed with your comments.
Thank you. My concern is with the fact that both of these lots are less than 40 feet, and my understanding of putting 2 semis in that area would not blend in with the traditional neighborhood. I also agree with the former comments about safety for traffic in the area, small children. Some of the sidewalks are sloping towards the road, and the school crosswalk in the area is not well maintained. It's also a safety hazard, which would be increased by 4 new homes, possibly 8 more vehicles, perhaps more.
Is that the conclusion of your comments?
That was the conclusion of my comments.
Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to our next public speaker. I'll just give Jody a moment to place, get the Zoom set up. And our next public speaker is Ms. Brochu. I see you've unmuted yourself. You're welcome to proceed with your comments.
Hi, thank you. My name is Brittany Brochu. I guess I have very similar concerns to Mrs. Van Maren, who just spoke. Some of the questions me and my parents that live right across the street had, were these going to be rental properties or ownership? That can drastically change how these properties are maintained and taken care of. The majority of the homes in the area are ownership and have been taken care of for years at a certain standard. Parking, definitely an issue, as Ms. Van Maren also mentioned, possibly an influx of 8 more vehicles on these lots. Where will parking be? As well as, sorry, phone call there. I guess as far as next steps, this is the first time that I've participated in a meeting such as this. And I guess I would just like to know, as far as next steps, how approval is obtained, and if the public has any right to dispute any approvals from here on out. I'd appreciate that information. Thank you.
Yeah, I can address those comments. So approval, if would be granted tonight, the decision will be made following the public and committee portion of this meeting. This is the opportunity for all of the public to express their concerns if they have any. The public does not have a right to appeal the Committee of Adjustment decisions. That's a somewhat recent change in legislation. So it would be tonight as the opportunity to express your point of view.
Okay, and then so that being said, some of the questions that we have may or may not be answered this evening, and then it's just left as that. Is that correct?
Well, we do have staff in the room. We also have the agent with us, and we have noted your questions, and we would be happy to address them.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Through you, sorry, just to conclude, Ms. Brochure, is that the conclusion of your comments?
Yes, thank you. That's my conclusion.
Excellent. You're welcome. That is the conclusion of our pre-registered speakers. However, we can open up to the floor if anyone present has additional comments. Yes. Thank you, and please state your name for the record.
My name is Anne Van Lockham. One of the concerns I have is that the brochures or the things that were sent out and posted, at least 3 of the neighbors have not received any information on this at all. And one is one house over and one is across the street. And everybody in that whole circle there should have had a paper to say how that property was going to be divided and everything. And it was not presented to all the neighbors, and that's not right. And my concern is the 4 semis or living area things on that property. You know, we could deal with a semi on that property, but 4 families, at least 8 cars, maybe 12 if there's a teenager. It's a lot of cars for that little property, and there's no parking on the streets. There's no medians on the street. You go from the sidewalk, you're right on the road, and it's very unsafe. So that would be one of my main concerns, and not all the neighbors getting the information.
I can try to address the concern regarding the mailing. We are required by legislation to circulate the mailing to anyone within a 60-meter radius, which we have done. We do obtain property information from the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, and we do that by postal service. So once it is placed in the postal service, I cannot whether it is received or not on the user end. I do have a list of who it has gone to, and I would be happy to check with any of the neighbors if you were in fact on that list, and that would potentially answer questions regarding the postal service. Through you, Mr. Chair, you may proceed.
Yeah, I do have, there's some questions even for the applicant. I know that we had heard a couple concerns here about the future development. And I know that's not what we're talking about here today, but at the end of the day, those lots seem to conform to the future of kind of the planning that's been going on. So at this point, I think we should focus on first the consent that we're looking for today, and then we can deal with the other parts subsequent to that. As long as the conditions are met here, I think in terms of the lot severance itself, I don't really have any other questions. The town has done a really good job here of addressing the concerns that some of the people have brought up here. So I just want to make sure that we've kind of dotted our I's and crossed our T's, and I think we've done that. So I'm good. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Please, Mr. Young.
Hi, yeah. Something I have to state, the conditions that were in the planning report was not the conditions sent in by Public Works. Public Works have not reviewed the engineering plan. We are looking at this purely in isolation as in a severance. No engineering has been reviewed, nothing has been reviewed on it. It's purely just a consent to sever.
Right.
And the minor variances. We have not reviewed the engineering or even looked at it.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And through you, Mr. Chair, I think that might lead right into my next question is regarding, I don't think we've seen a detached garage in the same way as we've seen a detached dwelling space. And I've got through the town reporting that that no rules or regulations exist on things such as fire barriers for such. So is the town prepared and ready to go ahead with a detached garage as proposed?
Through you, Mr. Chair, can I just confirm, are you asking whether it meets building code requirements?
Are the building code requirements defined for a detached garage as is proposed here?
Well, I can't speak to the specific requirements in terms of construction. However, in order for us to issue a building permit, or for the chief building official to issue the building permit, it will have to be designed to meet all of those requirements under the Ontario Building Code. So those likely include fire separations and all of that type of thing. We have seen garages with shared masonry walls in other parts of the town. And so it wouldn't be something that they haven't seen before.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Straight in.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, if we just circle back to Ms. Brochu's comments, perhaps staff would like an opportunity to comment on those. Her first question was related to rental or ownership. However, that is not in the Committee of Adjustments purview to consider. However, she does ask a question regarding parking as to where parking will be located and the potential of the influx of 8 vehicles. So perhaps either staff or the agent want to address that question.
Through you, Mr. Chair. And my understanding is that the parking will be accommodated within the garage for the front unit, the semi-detached unit. It has a garage and it also has a driveway that will accommodate the required parking spaces. And for the unit in the rear above the garage, that also contains a garage that will accommodate parking, and there is also space for parking in front of that garage. So all parking is expected to be contained on the lot.
Thank you for that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I did just receive an email from Ms. Van Maren, who is still with us on Zoom, I believe. However, she just outlined some of her concerns more concisely, being safety to the neighborhood children with traffic already taxed with unmaintained school crosswalk. 2, does not blend into traditional streetscape and neighborhood. 3, parking anticipated as a likely issue. Concerns regarding water and sewer being able to handle the additional residences, and size of the lots do not meet neighborhood standards. Those are just her concluding comments.
Thank you. I think in terms of those concerns, again, a bit different from what we're looking at here today, which is just the consent part of the mortgage. So I think those concerns can come up later, but at this point, we're looking at what's in front of us today, right? Which is the discharge, in other words, the mortgage to create the 2 lots. And based on what we have here, I think we've met that. Let's just see how everyone feels about it.
We are still within the public portion, so if you'd like to move on, you can close that public portion
All right, let's
now.
go ahead.
So moved.
I second it.
Thank you very much. Okay, and you may move into committee input.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I hear the concerns. I mean, having sat in this committee for the last couple of years, traffic, we hear traffic all the time. It is, it is what it is. As the community grows, the town, I know, is doing its best to keep up with traffic planning. And it's going to be an ongoing battle, and we hear the concerns, but in this case, I don't know if there's much we can do about it with regards to one development of two residences. I am sympathetic to her concerns about the streetscape, having driven down that and seeing the preponderance of older homes. But again, it is the, as the town develops, older homes will become replaced with newer homes, and it's not specific to any particular area. It's going to be happening in the town as a whole. And I think her last concern was parking, and as we were speaking, I pulled up the site plan. And in addition to the garage, the 2 garages, there are spaces for at least 3, probably 4 additional vehicles outside on the lot itself without having to resort to street parking. So I think the developer has addressed parking adequately.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Do you have any comments?
Oh, none. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Motion to close.
Actually, we have closed the public portion, so I'd be looking for either a motion to approve or deny the application.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll do the first one.
I'll do that if you like.
Or, go ahead.
Ready. File B13 2024P 764 Canberra Road, Pelham. An application for consent and partial discharge of mortgage and convey part 1 is hereby granted. The above decision is subject to the following conditions to the satisfaction of Public Works. 1, confirm no existing utilities cross the proposed new property line. 2, obtain approval for a driveway entrance and culvert permit as applicable. 3, lots are to be individually serviced with sanitary and water connections and constructed in accordance with Town of Pelham engineering standards. Installation of any services will require a temporary works permit. And 4, submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan for all parcels, demonstrating that the drainage neither relies nor negatively impacts neighboring properties, and that all drainage will be contained within the respective lots. To the satisfaction of planning, sign the Town of Pelham Standard Memorandum of Understanding explaining that development charges and cash in lieu of the dedication of the land for park purposes are required prior to the issuance of a building permit. 2, that the owner provide a written agreement that they will grant Bell Canada any easements that may be required, which may include a blanket easement for communication/telecommunication infrastructure. In the event of any conflict with existing Bell Canada facilities or easements, the owner shall be responsible for the relocation of such facilities or easements. And to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, provide a registrable legal description together with a copy of the deposited reference plan. And 2, a final certification fee of $436. This decision is based on the following reasons. The application conforms to and complies with a town official plan, regional policy plan, and provincial policy statement, town zoning bylaw. This decision is rendered having regard to sections 51, open brackets 24, close brackets, and 5125 of the Planning Act. The committee considered all written and oral submissions and finds that, subject to the conditions, this application meets Planning Act criteria, is consistent, and complies with provincial, regional, and town planning policy. 4, the applicant is aware that in relation to the Stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment, a formal acceptance letter from the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism must be circulated to the Niagara region prior to the issuance of a building permit. That's it.
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair, if you don't mind if I interrupt quickly, I just want to turn over to our Manager of Engineering, Mr. Young, just to confirm that those public works conditions all do apply.
Through you, Mr. Chair, no. We have not reviewed the engineering at all. The only thing we've asked for is servicing as part of the lots. We currently do not support the current layout of what's been submitted.
Okay, with that being said, we do have a motion moved, not yet seconded, so we can still move forward with a debate if you would like to continue discussions. As the motion is not formally on the floor, you may discuss further with Mr. Young. Otherwise, Mr. Young, if they do move forward with approval, are there conditions that you wish to impose beyond that?
I guess Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess the direct question is, does Public Works support this motion as you just heard it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, not with the conditions set forth by Public Works. The only thing we've asked for is for servicing, and we only looked at this as in a consent to sever. That's all we've looked at, nothing else on the plan at all. Not the layout, not the rear yard garages. There are items in there that do not meet current engineering practices that the town supports, and therefore we cannot support it. However, we cannot make them the reason for not supporting the severance.
Are these rectifiable if the applicant were to amend in some way or satisfy you, or?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's for future discussions.
So for clarity, Mr. Young, if they were to proceed with the motion on the floor, do you wish to offer different conditions, or if they?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the town submitted the only condition we'd like to have on there is the servicing requirements.
So my question then is, if we were to approve tonight, how would the department feel about, moving forward? Is there a way to resolve the end goal here?
Through you, Mr. Chair, they can go forward and put a pair of semis on there. The issue we have is with the rear yard ones.
Okay. Any feedback from anyone else from the town? I just want to make sure we've got this completely clear before we. Yes, Shannon.
Mr. Chair, at this time, the condition was included to require a log grading and drainage plan to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works. That would then give the applicant the ability to prepare something for their review and comment. And should it be acceptable, then of course they can meet the condition and finalize the consent. If they can't prepare something that's acceptable, then they don't meet the condition and the consent isn't completed.
Makes it a bit more interesting.
Oh, I'd like to hear Mr. Young's response to that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are currently a number of issues relating to this application. If you look at the plan, the retaining wall right on the boundary line, which is going to impact the neighbour. The side yard swales that are non-existent, so therefore they're totally relying on the neighbour's property. The retaining wall's over 1 metre high, so they're going to have to go on the neighbour's property and maintain it. As for parking, you pointed out the parking, but if all those vehicles drive in there and there's 8 or 5 vehicles on there, every one of them has got to back out on Canberra Road just to get the first car out. We don't know where the drainage is currently going. The drainage is just disappearing out the back. We've got no idea where it's going. We know I know where it's going, and it's going onto a neighbouring property. There's a lot of issues with relation to having these in the back garden that jump out and could impact adjacent properties as well as downstream from where the runoff is going.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, maybe go back to does anyone have any comments? Can I go back to the applicant and ask?
If you would like, yes.
Yes, please. You've heard the discussion over the last few minutes. Any comments?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. The comment comes as quite a surprise, actually, because we've had the grading and servicing plan at the town for months now, as well as had a site meeting with the civil engineer and the public works staff reviewing the site and the servicing plan and grading plan. And we were under the impression that there were no further concerns. So this is a bit of a shock to hear Mr. Young's concerns. He obviously is very passionate about those concerns, and we'll have to work through them. And when I hear the comments that we still have to satisfy him for the sake of the consent, I can't see any other condition that would be necessary other than that to move forward on the consent.
Right.
The existing property is massive. It's 273 feet deep. We're intensifying it at half of what it can be, according to the town's bylaw. The retaining wall, there are some additional retaining walls near the back, but the retaining wall to the west side of the property, there's one that exists there already that's proposed to be replaced with a more current one that's been there since the inception of the building. that was torn down, which I would think is somewhere in the 40s or 50s, without any compromise to the neighboring properties. So I'd love the chance to satisfy Mr. Young's concerns through proper channels with our civil team. And like I said, it was a surprise that it came up tonight. It could have come up earlier when we had the plan in, and I'm sorry that you didn't see the plan through you, Mr. Chair, because it has been at the town, and we did have site meetings to review it. Mr. Young just wasn't present at the time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, just to confirm with the applicant, are you wishing to defer consideration of this application forward with the decision tonight, just based on those comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think that the makes sense to move forward with this. Absolutely. I can't see why we couldn't satisfy the Public Works concerns through that same process that's existed for every application before it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So through you, Mr. Chair, again, that motion has not been seconded, so we're still open for discussion. Once it is seconded, then it would be up for consideration formally.
I will go ahead and second the motion so we can get to that stage.
Thank you. So I have a motion. Sorry, I have a motion to approve on the floor by Member Rodbar, seconded by Member McCann, and therefore it is open for a vote.
I vote to approve, based on the fact that the applicant has done everything possible to meet the town's needs according to their requests. With this last-minute issue popping up, I'm sure it will be manageable, and I'm hoping that we can come to some agreement to meet Mr. Young's concerns there. But I don't think it's fair that we, deny or defer based on the applicant and everyone in the town working to where we got to today. So I will definitely support.
I support town staff whenever possible, and I'm hearing that not all the concerns have been addressed in deference to Mr. Young's expertise. I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so that leaves Member Rodbard, and just for clarification purposes, a tie is a defeat. Member Rodbard, are we looking for a vote?
I'm going to agree and with my colleague at the end there and abstain.
So through you to the members, we do require a vote. 2 abstentions would not be a vote.
No.
So you either
I'm not sure I understand what's going on, but my hearing's a little
that's
off,
okay. So we do have.
If we approve this, it should be conditional on the satisfaction of the engineering.
That is correct. There are conditions currently opposed on this consent application.
So this can't proceed until this gentleman over here is satisfied.
The final certification would not proceed
Then I
until.
will approve it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, tame you. So just for the record, that is approved, and as such, we will move on to the associated minor variance files, being A14 and A15/2024P. And for clarity, Mr. Chair, we will be hearing these 2 applications concurrently. However, they are separate applications.
Okay, thank you.
So application A14 and A15, 764 Canberra Road, being parts 1 and 2. The subject parcels have a frontage of 12.19 meters on the south side of Canberra Road, lying north of Welland Road, known locally as 764 Canberra Road. The applications, the 2 of them, actually, they both seek relief from section 3.28.1 BIX, second dwelling units, urban area, to permit an interior side yard setback for an accessory structure of 0 meters. Minor variance test 1 is, I think I skipped one there. Yes. So the following comments have been received from the Building and Public Works. Please see conditions. Minor variance test 1 is the variance minor in nature. Yes, given the slope of the property towards the rear of the property, the structure is not anticipated to have a significant visual impact from the public realm or negative impacts on adjacent properties. Minor variance test 2, is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land? Yes, the requested variances are not anticipated to result in negative impacts on adjacent properties, will facilitate the construction of a detached garage and SDU on each future lot, which is permitted in the zoning bylaw, will not alter the function of the subject property, and is not anticipated to alter the streetscape in any significant way. Minor variance test 3, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, given the development proposes a semi-detached dwelling on the site, a combined accessory structure for the site is considered appropriate. No objections were raised by Town Public Works about the side yard setback with respect to drainage. The proposed development maintains the intent of the bylaw to maintain a functional lot and achieve appropriate spatial separation from neighboring land uses. Minor variance test 4, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes, the proposed detached garage and second dwelling unit is generally compatible with and generally in keeping with the residential character of the neighborhood. Based on the analysis of staff is the opinion that the variances are minor in nature, conform to the general policies and intent of both the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is appropriate for the development and use of the land. Planning staff recommend that application numbers A14/2024P and A15/2024P be approved, subject to the following conditions: that the applicant submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan to demonstrate that drainage neither relies on nor negatively impacts neighboring properties, that all necessary building permits be acquired prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the chief building official, and that the approval of the minor variances are subject to the final consent of B13/2024P. And again, through you, Mr. Chair, it is the same agent on the file. Do you have any additional comments to add?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. As far as character of this building is concerned, the intent was to take cues from some of the larger homes in the immediate vicinity of the property. If you're standing at the front of the property and you're looking to the north and you glance east or west, you'll see large old farmhouses, Tudor style, is most predominant across there. And in the backs of those are large-scale barns that obviously were part of the original agricultural fabric. So given that this property was so substantial and that we wanted to be in keeping with the character, we designed the semi-detached unit to look as a single house. Its scale on the lot is equivalent to the larger houses across the street, although it contains 2 units. In the back, we wanted the similar complementary barn. So we designed it with no access facing back towards the house. The garage doors are displayed from the side so that for all intents and purposes, it appears as a barn. Even the small bathroom windows are to look like small loft windows, and it has a cupola on the top of it. So the character of it is to look like a barn. So the whole, even though it's going to be more intense, it's going to be semi-detached, it should look like most other houses in the area and be a surprise that it's semi-detached. So that sets the stage for why the back building and the 0 lot line that we're looking for. It looks like 1 building in the back as opposed to 2 that have 6 feet between them. It did come through a bit of a hiccup in communication with town planning staff and myself. The old bylaw used to permit and had policies for the secondary or for the detached buildings to be conjoined in a semi-detached. We had done some early inquiries which set the stage for wanting it to be barn-like, and we received some information back that said, yes, you're on the right track, 0 lot line is okay, later to find out that that was a miscommunication. So the job was done, it looked great, everybody liked the design, so we decided to move forward with the variance to stick with what we thought was better than 2 buildings in the back. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if you'd like to move into the public comments, we do, I'll just ask Jody to confirm that our 2 public speakers are still with us on Zoom. Okay, I'm not sure if they have any comments on the variances, but we will turn to them just in case. So we will welcome Ms. Van Maren back into the room. And Ms. Van Maren, we do see you. If you have any comments on the variances, you're welcome to proceed.
I did have a question. I don't know if I understood correctly. I haven't been privy to the design. Did I understand that the plan is for a building that looks like a single house and is actually 2 as a semi, and in behind it is a barn? designed as a separate dwelling unit so that there's actually 3 families. Did I understand that correctly?
Mr. Chair, if you'd like a response, the applicant.
Yes. That's a good question. Very good question, Deborah. I'm just trying to understand, is it a third with the secondary dwelling bylaws that are in place? I would think that that is possible. I will throw that over to the town. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, I believe the proposal at this time is 1 semi-detached unit on each lot. So 1 primary unit, 1/2 of the semi, and then a second dwelling unit in a detached garage for each lot. So a total of 2 units.
Got it.
Provided a property owner can meet the other requirements under the zoning, there is the ability for additional second dwelling units, but my understanding is that that's not proposed at this time.
So the possibility is there, but it hasn't been put through it, the rigorous conditions that are required to do that at this point, correct?
That's correct. That's not part of this proposal, and
Got
we
it.
haven't looked at it to
Okay.
ensure that it would meet the other zoning requirements in order for more units to occur.
Okay, thank you. That makes it a little bit clearer for me. I don't know about you guys. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. For Deborah on the online. So it sounds like at this point that is not going to be the case, and that's not what we're discussing here today in terms of the application. But the possibility is there with the future intent, but having to meet the requirements at that time will be another application. I'm hoping that answers your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any more comments, Ms. Van Maren?
No, I'm sorry if I seem a little nosy, but I happen to have a large property of over an acre just down the street, so it's very interesting to me, looking at my future developments.
Okay, thank you very much. We will then move to our next public speaker, Ms. Brochu, and I do see that you're in the meeting with us. You're welcome to make your comments.
Yes, thank you. I guess I agree with Ms. Van Maren as well. We were one of the families in the neighboring 4 homes that did not receive any notice via mail and or seen any rendering. So I think that's maybe why we're all a little bit chomping at the bit here, trying to ask a lot of questions because we're kind of blind here coming in. I guess one of my concerns is just with the engineer from Public Works. I mean, he voiced some pretty strong objections, and that may not have been at the correct time for what the committee was voting for to approve. I think I'm quite concerned that he feels so strongly about this back building, and yet the committee went forward with approval. I guess that's just where my concern lies. Thank you. That's concluding my comment for now.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brochu. And I see that we have no one in the gallery to make public comments. Todd, did you have anything to add before we continue with committee input? I understand you may want some drawings shown.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Ms. LeGros can share the building. I wasn't sure what got set out in the circulation, so I wasn't aware of what people would be looking at. And just to address that question regarding why the committee went through with consent, it's my understanding that the consent is not really influenced by the choices of or concerns that Mr. Young has, because dividing the lot into 2 to create 2 semis is part of the zoning provision, and as of right, the minor variance, we are asking for an exception in that case, and there is more opportunity for comment, but again, the same points can be addressed through Public Works at the time when we have to satisfy them for the same conditions. I just want to have an opportunity to throw this up on the screen to show the building design.
Are you able to cancel your share screen, Jody? I can try to cancel on our end.
Yeah, for those of you online, we're just waiting for the,
Yeah, we're just pulling up some drawings.
right.
That's all good. And you can just change the zoom there a little bit so you can see all the views.
Yeah. No kidding.
Well, you get part of it on the screen there, but it was the image up to the left there is the front elevation. So that's what you see directly on Canberra Road. And then the other views are just sort of angular views from approach in both directions. I think if you scroll across, Jody, a little bit further the other way, you can see, well, you can just start to see the barn in that image in the back there, or what looks like a barn, but has two dwelling units in it, as well as accessory garages for the primary residence and a proposed garage for the residential units back there. It's not your conventional semi-detached that people perhaps have in their own mind or paradigm. And that was the intention, was to have it fit into the fabric of that area in Fenwick. So do the people that are online, are they able to see that imagery as well?
Yes, they can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you have any concluding comments?
Nope, that's all I want to
Okay,
show.
thank you.
Thank you.
Through Mr. Chair, like I said, we have no one in the gallery here. I have checked our emails. It is 5:48 p.m. We've received no emails on the application or applications. If you'd like to move to committee input, you may.
Do you need a motion to close public?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I move we close the public portion.
Yeah, I'll
you.
second that.
All right, thank you. Okay, and that brings us to committee input. If the committee has any comments, now would be the time.
Go ahead, you move first.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it just occurred to me that the garage is actually face sideways, and the width of the driveway, does it permit two cars to pass by each other before they get to the road, or does this require one of those Mexican fire drills every time the person at the back wants to get out?
Through you, Mr. Chair. In front of the garage, two cars could squeeze by each other, but along the lane coming up, it's a single lane. It's actually done like a farm track with two tire tracks. Is the nature of the beast there, to have it look more authentic. But we don't expect there to be a lot of traffic in having one residence back there that's 800 square feet.
Good. Any other questions or comments?
None.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about the whole parking and the car situation. I know it's a concern. You had mentioned earlier, parking, in a growing town, there's always concerns about parking and how do we do it. I mean, in this case, we're making an assumption that there's at least 2 to 4 cars and maybe We don't know. I mean, we don't know. There could be as little as 1 car per building. I mean, it's just the nature of it. We're not necessarily sure. Yes, I don't have any further questions. I think you've met all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If there's no further comments, I'd be looking for a motion to either approve or deny the applications.
I'll take this one. With reference, files A14 2024P and A15 2024P, 764 Canberra Road, Pelham. I move we approve this application for a minor variance of interior side yard setback of 0 meters. The reasons: 1, the variance is minor in nature as no negative impacts are anticipated. 2, the intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. 3, the intent of the official plan is maintained. 4, the proposals are desirable for the land as it will facilitate the construction of a detached garage and second dwelling unit on each future lot, which is permitted in the zoning bylaw. It will not alter the function of the subject property. It is not anticipated to alter the streetscape in any significant way. These applications are granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. In making this motion, the committee considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act tests for minor variance. There are conditions. 1, conditional approval of variances subject to the final certification of consent file B13 2024P. 2, obtain necessary building permits. 3, submit a comprehensive lot grading and drainage plan.
Thank you, and I'd be looking for a seconder for that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, and a vote, please, Mr. Chair.
I vote in the affirmative.
I vote to support as well.
Same, affirmative.
Okay, thank you. And therefore, files A15/2024P and A14/2024P are hereby approved. Mr. Chair, that does bring us to minutes for approval. We do have 2 sets on today's agenda for approval, being June 3rd and July 2nd, and I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, and a seconder, please.
Second.
Thank you. And a vote on that approval.
I vote in affirmative.
Thank you.
I approve.
Thank you, and Mr. Rodbard.
Approve.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, that does bring us to adjournment, and it is 5:53 p.m., and I'd be looking for a motion to approve, adjourn, sorry.
I motion to close.
And I second.
Excellent, thank you. And sorry, a vote on that?
I vote affirmative.
Excellent. Thank you.
Affirmative.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Chair, your hearing is now concluded.